The Middle Belt Forum has said Nigeria is a failed state. What are the indices to say that the state has actually failed? And also the EFCC goes after former Governor Akinwumi Ambode. Is this a fight against corruption or a witch hunt? We'll stay and discuss on this after the break. Stay with us. This is Plus Politics and I am Maryann Okon. The Middle Belt Forum has stated that the breakdown of various national institutions is an indication that Nigeria is a failed state. The forum stated that the government has no intention to maintain public order. It also predicted that the nation would not survive its challenges and would have collapsed by 2030. Well, this sounds really, really bleak, but I have being joined in the studio. I'm being joined by Rashid Adegbero. He's a political analyst, and of course Ayo Ademili is a legal practitioner. It's good to have you join us, gentlemen. I will start with Ayo because you are a legal practitioner. I'm wondering, and that's the question I asked at first, how can you tell if a state is a failed state or maybe inching towards a failed state?
Very well. I think that question itself is broken into two naturally. What is a state? And what amounts to a successful state and what amounts to a failed state. If we want to break it further into three, a state is more or less given the general experience across the world is a form of political and geographical definition of certain population of people. Now, going by that analysis, naturally, states emerged as a result of development of humanity at a particular point in time. There were stateless states. There was a time when humanity was stateless, so to speak. There were the prehistorical society when men depended only on subsistence, on feeding themselves and all that. The creation of states is in itself was an employment of a form of defining who controls what at a particular point in time. And I think one political philosopher defines states as armed bodies of men. They need to protect private property. They need to protect the control of resources and might develop into the question of having states and all of that. And what that has now led to is that we now see the development of a structure, of a permanent structure, if you ask me, whereby power is concentrated in the hands of a minority, which constitutes itself as a state, and then the majority languish in poverty and all of that. That is what happened in the early 15th and 16th century in Europe and all that. Now coming to Nigeria, Africa as we know it today was not the way it is. It's not balkanized that you have Nigeria, you have Ghana, you have this. Africa itself was more or less a vast geographical and seemingly unified continent. You have, for instance, my ethnic stock, the Yoruba people are not only in Ife, where I come from. They are also in places like Ghana, like as far as Sierra Leone, Benin, and other places, and even to Latin America as you have it. So, as I've told you, there's a period when humanity was not bounded by states. Now, in Africa, states were created by imperialism to meet some very specific goals. Like Nigeria is more or less an artificial contraption. My predecessors were never Nigerians. You know, I'm talking 200 years down the line. They were not Nigerians. Nigeria came on board maybe less than a century ago.
100 years ago.
It was meant to be more or less a geographical definition of what the British imperialists at that time wanted it to be, to meet their own interests.
But hey, here we are.
Why did that state fail? Having understood the basis upon which we are constructed, why did it fail? It failed because systematically it was a system. It was based on a system wherein they we set up a structure where the commanders of the economy, the animal resources society, were concentrated into the hands of a few. Whether they are of different ethnic stock was another thing, but they were concentrated in the hands of a few at the expense of the majority. So that kind of system will naturally fail because it will breed poverty, it will breed unemployment, it will breed insecurity, it will bring all the kind of horrors.
But then we moved from the pre-colonial rule to post-colonial rule. And of course, we moved from the military rule into a democracy, where one would normally think that things would change for the best, if not just the better. And here we are talking about a failed state. Now, and power still resting in the hands of a few.
Very well. Now, the thing is that the military experiment was more or less a continuation of that, of what we have defined as to be the intrusion of imperialism. It was a continuation. There was no interruption in any way. It was more or less a section of the military brass who also want to have a share of the loot coming into power, and under the prayer of universal clamor for civil rule or democracy as we have it now, a form of democracy in which people in civilian roles are in power. The civilian section took over the looting spree from the other wing too, and now the military bureaucrats now perfected their game by changing into civilian rules, and we have seen that in the case of Obasanjo 1999 to 2003, and then in the case of Buhari as we have it now 2015 to date. And you will recollect that the limited, possibly even the core civilian wing, that's Jonathan and Yar'Adua, were also more or less siblings of these military civilian oppressors.
Mr. Adegbenro does not necessarily agree with you. I don't know if you agree, but you are representing an NGO that talks about values and leadership. As somebody who's coming from the civil society aspect of this country, what would you term as a failed state, or what would be the characteristics of a failed state?
Thank you. And to a large extent, I share the sentiments of Ademiloye. The historical perspective is laid on the table in total support, because that's the reality on ground. And that's why at our end, at the NGO side, what we talk about today is what we refer to as state capture. Where the military were in power for quite a long time. Of course, they had collaborators in the society.
Yes.
And it was only natural that they would feel more comfortable to hand over or pass the baton of leadership in the country to what Ademiloye referred to as their siblings. If they misbehave, they have the facility to run them down and take over again. And that's the experience we have had. So we had state capture. It is not wrong for a few people to be in control of the affairs of a state. Not everybody can be in power. So those who ventured to go into politics will naturally be minor in terms of number. The larger society is the voting bloc. How we vote determines who captures the center in terms of political leadership. I think to a large extent, the civil side of the country have been very weak or lukewarm.
And what's responsible for that?
There are so many things. The long years of military rule had conditioned the mind of people to expect the worst. The figures that showed up in terms of contesting for political offices were not too different to the military that was exiting. And that made people, the larger society, to believe not much or dramatic change will come. So they could be lukewarm. Have a few elections in times past, and the political leaders did not give us a dramatic shift.
But should that not have, I might be wrong, but should that not have also reconditioned our minds? If over time we have been lukewarm and the results or the changes did not come, would that not have reconditioned our minds to be actively involved in making sure that we pick the people who were right for us, instead of just sitting back and saying, oh, the usual people will always find their way there?
Unfortunately, that did not happen. If you look at the statistics on the table, 2015 election, we had about almost 70 or 79 million people registered to vote. At the end of the day, less than 19 million voted. Implication is that a larger part of those who registered for the polls. First, we have a category referred to as the eligible voters. Based on our demographics, from 18 and above, you are qualified to vote. So you can look at our population and see the percentage that set of people occupy. But when we did actual registration, about 20 million of that anticipated figure did not come out to register. And when we got about 69 million eventually that got registered, only less than 19 million went out to vote, implying more than 30 million people did not cast their votes, even though they registered. The same has repeated itself in the 2019 elections. So, which tells us quickly that there's a lot of disillusionment concerning or an apathy towards political activity and voting.
But this apathy, before we go in depth into what the Middle Belt Forum is saying, this apathy, we only express it in staying back. It still doesn't change the fact that we have the wrong people leading us, or people who don't necessarily care about what we need as a country ruling us. So what is the essence of this apathy if it's not going to bring some change? Because now you can't say a revolution, if not, we'll probably have the DSS come after us. But, you know, how do you change things with just staying away? Staying away does not stir the pot, does it?
For me, really, if we are to go by what transpired at the last general elections, the abstention, I won't call it apathy. There is a conclusion people have drawn. The percentage of people who refused or abstained from voting are making a political statement. They are saying emphatically that they are tired of the traditional electoral politics that we have seen. And that is a warning signal to those in power. Well, we have seen maybe some sporadic protests and all that. Those ones are just, if you ask me, dress rehearsals. Or even, let's say, they are just like just water drops.
But there are pundits who say that Nigerians are not even capable of occupying or having protests like the likes of Sudan.
The ruling class is playing with fire. Yes.
But the average Nigerian, do we have the staying power when it comes to this?
I'll make one point for you. Now, in the last 20 years, that's 1999 to 2019, which is the entire years of civil rule, Nigeria has experienced more than 10 general strikes. The last general strike that occurred in Britain, which is arguably the center of modern trade unionism, was in 1923. So what that shows you is that Nigeria has even had more revolutionary movements than epicenters of capitalism like Britain. For what happened in 2015, the ruling class is driving blindly towards a mass confrontation. Now, let me give you more facts. If you look at the percentage of those who refused to vote during the 2019 election, they are young people. Anybody that is 20 years old now is arguably a young person, capable of being a mother and a father the same, or a father, as the case may be. Now, the reality is that generation, a higher percentage of them constitute a percentage of those who did not vote. That means that, as far as they are concerned, they see the whole exercise as a farce. Now,
not making a choice is also some form of a choice that you have made.
Election 2, yes, I agree with you. The election 2 was more or less a choiceless election. You have on parade the same traditional politicians who have destroyed this country in every material particular. Then you have, of course, some ceremonial candidates who just run on identity politics. I'm a young person, I'm a woman, and without any deep roots in the community, and possibly the God's sprinkling on votes. But in every sense, the kind of political contenders that represents the aspirations, the genuine social and economic aspirations of the working people were not there to give the ruling class a run for their money at that time. So I do not think that people are pathetic. Now, human consciousness don't develop in a straight line. For all that is happening now, the average consciousness of those who are in of the average common man on the street is, well, we have tried out this regime. This regime came to power on the strength of a very serious enthusiasm and all of that. The kind of enthusiasm we saw in 2015 was missing in 2019. And that should be a very, very big headache for the regime. Because what that means is that people have drawn their conclusion that as far as this regime is concerned, it's not going anywhere for them. And they are trying to explore other alternatives. Human beings don't resort to outright revolt at once. It's not in human nature. Human nature wants maximum convenience, want to explore shortcuts. The masses are still exploring shortcuts now. Oh, well, we have to survive struggle. That's why you will see that we have seen the symbolic, only symbolic protests. But the mighty revolt that will break out in itself is yet to occur.
Let's go to what the Middle Belt Forum said, and I'm coming to you, Mr. Adegbenro. Now, they said that this was actually a message contained in a communique issued at a one-day conference for Middle Belt ethnic nationalities held in Abuja. Now, it said that Nigeria is a failed state. We may not like it, but Nigeria now is failed. It is a nation where institutions have broken down. The state has no credibility to maintain public order. The youth feel that their future has been mortgaged, and they said there is grand corruption. So let's start with that whole paragraph. This is a government that came in on the heels of, we want to fight corruption, zero tolerance for corruption. They came in on the heels of, we're going to fight insecurity, being that they stood out where they were from where they stood and threw stones at the government of the day at the time, saying they were incapable of fighting insecurity. And then, of course, they talked about helping our economy to grow. And today we know where the economy stands. We're almost, if not in a recession of sorts, but then we have an artificial glass that, you know, is covering us and making us feel like, you know, the situation is not so bad. What the Middle Belt Forum has said, and they're saying that we may not survive till 2030. Should we be worried about this, and what should we be thinking of at this point? What should we be doing, we the people? Because these things may sound political to some people, but there is some iota of truth in it, isn't it?
Ordinarily, any patriotic Nigerian should be worried about the potentials of Nigeria becoming a failed state in a couple of years to come. We have only one economy. If it's not well with the nation, it's going to be very challenging to be well with the citizens of that region. So, but the way it has been defined, Ademile had elaborated quite extensively on what are the features of a failed state. I've just summarized it. Where the state operators, I'm talking of government now, is unable to control people and resources. If the government is unable to control people and resources, then the state has failed. Because the primary responsibility of the state is to protect life and property, is to ensure good governance. Security cannot be compromised. Where states fail to manage this, then the government of the day is out. Then the resources is a twin to the people, because we expect government to be the arbiter in terms of managing resources and allocating efficiently to ensure that the state thrives. Where government has lost control or is unable to manage resources of the state, could be as a result of corruption, could be as a result of leakages within the economy. We've had it could be as a result of blindness on the part of the leadership. Because if you have a leader who does not have a broad global outlook, then the economy and the resources will go to the dustbin. We've seen that happen in a few states all over the world. 2017 ending, the sing-song in town was, we have technically exited recession. But strong argument came that we are not out of recession. If you look at the quarterly economic reports, you see that we're just on the borderline, implying that government needed to rise up to the challenge at that time to fix a few things right. If you cannot fix it, it's going to be very easy. Just a little push, the economy may not go back into recession, might even go into a depression. And that's why, in spite of the publicity put around that we're out of the recession 2017 ending, or first quarter of 2018, you can see that food is still not on the table for people. Smiles is not on the face of people, implying that the public is yet to feel the impact of the exit of the recession. That's the reality. You cannot play games with figures or numbers.
Talking about that, I want my producers to get a video out. It was on the news earlier today where Femi Falana was talking about investors coming into the country, that you cannot come into a country to invest if there is no obedience to the rule of law, talk less of security. And because if they have an infringement, or there is an infringement on their right, they would expect that the rule of law would work for them. So I'm hoping that my producers can get that video, so we'll go to it, and I'm hoping they can give us some more time to talk about this, because we want to look at paying lip service to some of these things. We hear our government speak more than they act. They try to set the record straight instead of actually dealing with the situation. Let's go to that video by Femi Falana, and then we'll come back and talk.
You can't have democracy without the rule of law. Nobody is coming to invest in your country without the rule of law. Because when you are taking your money to anywhere in the world, you ask if there is a breach of contract. Will I get justice in their court? Will it be fast and expeditious? Now, if you are told you are likely to get judgment, will they comply with the judgment? If you are told we are not certain, you will move your money elsewhere. So it's not just enough to say we are disobeying court order. An attorney general goes to the National Assembly, we are disobeying court orders because of national security. I beg your pardon. Treason, under what section of the criminal code? I do hope that the government will not charge him. The government will not be stupid to charge Showore. You know why? He has briefed me. And no, I'm telling you, in fairness to the SSA, when he told them yesterday.
All right, so the important part is what he said. And he hit a nerve there. In 2018, if I'm not mistaken, if not the close of 2017, businesses, investors pulled out and went to Ghana, and then I think there's this report of how foreign direct investments, yes, their FDI rose, astronomically, and then ours went down, and that was because of the uncertainty that he's referring to.
I think that governments of the day and past governments as well usually miss the big picture. Concerning investment, particularly foreign direct investment, you don't need to go and sermonize anywhere in the world. If you keep your home in order, you will see or witness free flow of investment. Each time I read in the media that a Nigerian delegation is out to US or to Europe or Asia on a roadshow to campaign for investment in Nigeria, I laugh because I know it's a mirage. It will not materialize. For one thing. When the investors were not stupid, remember, money is capital. And if you're talking of materials, in terms of investment, capital is strong. I call that capital, that's C in the investment chain, coward. Investment is so much afraid. It will never settle where there's uncertainty. So, if you minister to them or campaign in US or Europe, they will come to Nigeria, of course, to visit. What government doesn't realize that these companies or potential investors will visit private sector organizations running similar businesses to share their thoughts. What is your status in this economy? And they'll be honest and tell them what the system is, the way the system runs. Somebody brought somebody from Korea, knowing fully well that this economy has a big question mark. You can paint a good picture. If they come and there's a crisis, the domestic investor just walks away. If, as a foreign investor, you go to the bank, you start receiving, experiencing a lot of adjournments. 5 years down the line, the case is still in court. But your local partner is walking the streets free, enjoying his money. And that creates a precedent. Other investors from that country will not.
Definitely not come. Okay.
And like Falano said, the money will go. There are more than 150 countries in the world to invest.
In Africa, mostly.
Just open your map and look at global indices of economy that is going the right direction. That's where the money will go.
Ayodemili, because we have just about 3 minutes to go, if with all of this that we're talking about and this publication by the Middle Belt Forum and all the publications we've had, and the federal government or the government of the day still doesn't do anything about this, will this be a prophecy that may come true, unfortunately?
Well, what I know for a fact is that the Nigeria itself is a product of some producers. I've told you, Nigeria itself is an artificial production of powers, of imperialist powers. They just conjure it, okay, from year to year and all that. So Southern Cameroon is part of Nigeria at a particular point in time. Now, those people also are also going to play a role if there's going to be a dismemberment of the country. Why did the Biafran war fail? It was because left to the same powers I told you about, it was not time for that dismemberment. Now, the fact is that, of course, this regime, without being unequivocal with the truth, is driving the country to a brink. And the imperialism is also getting jittery that is this the way things are going to play out? So there will be a lot of interventions. But in any way, even if you have foreign direct investments, which is just turning out to slave labor factories here and there and all that, it's not going to resolve the problem. The solution comes from the majority of the people of this country taking their destiny into their own hands by saying, number one, we must build a movement that is not based on ethnicity. Enough of there are two nations in this nation, the nation of the super poor and the nation of the super rich.
I've never heard anybody put it that way.
Yes. Oh, yes. Now, the fact is that when it comes to sharing of the booty, all the Igbo poor, the Hausa, the sharing of the booty, the Hausa rich, the Yoruba rich, and the Igbo rich are united. If you look at the cabinet, at least they just do that. It's more or less same of the same politicians to compensate those who did the good work during the last election. So they are united. Those of us on this other side of the divide must also unite. That's the first step. And then now build.
You belong to that side?
I belong to that side ideologically, okay, in terms of fighting for the liberation of that side, and then building a movement, a real movement wherein we can, a political movement that will say, I will put into power a real government of the people.
Not minding where the person is from, blurring the lines of ethnicity, religion, and the likes. And
then now uniting and now taking into our commonwealth for the use of education. Look at Nigeria. Education itself is an industry that can employ millions in this country. We have the vast uneducated poor in the north. If we can have teaching corps that can span into thousands, tap into all the graduate unemployment we have in this country, and all of that.
Well, this is a conversation quickly because we're out of time.
Okay, I think there's a question you raised we didn't fully address. Okay. How do we prevent ourselves from getting paradigm shift from the larger society? I think this is a call out to civil society. We need more. We just completed an election. We have a 4-year notice for the next election. The work should start now. More civil society should go in the field for public enlightenment, for public education. The political parties have failed the nation, no matter their color or abbreviation. But civil society can rise to the occasion, put out strong materials on civil education, on the people's rights, and that for political parties that may probably get Nigeria out of the woods. If you do this in the next 3-4 years, we might probably have a different output in the 2023 election. But if we hold our hands and expect INEC, all the political parties to do it, I think we are living in a dream.
Wow. Well, I want to say thank you to you, Rashida Degbero, and Ayo Ademilu. Thank you so much. This is a conversation we'll keep having because it's not something we can just dump. Well, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be speaking on the alleged 9.9 billion naira fraud that has caused the freezing of the accounts linked to former Governor Ambode. Stay with us.